Now, there are people, we like to call those people lovingly idiots. Why do you guys keep trying to eat the drywall? Stop! Drywall is not a food group! Anyway, we need to talk about the fact that there are a lot of doctors who actually have been shaping policy where trans people are concerned, LGBTQ people are concerned, and not in a good way. We got to talk about the American College of Pediatricians. And yeah, just so you guys know, a bit of a trigger warning, a little bit, small bit of a hate group. But let's get into that after we get into the fan art section. So, first piece of fan art we have here is from Fine Point, a nuke of a particular variety that you can read on screen right now. The next one we have, this one is from Orion, says, I'm not an artist, but maybe an active nuke could be indicated by a slimy radiation symbol, like this one. The next one we have is from Anubian. Retaliation art for the absolute cancer we were shown on screen. I don't remember what it was, but apparently that says here, I'm going to fuck burgers because Burger King man told me or he'd kill me. Okay, then. Anyway, as always, thank you all for your fan art submissions. If you want your fan art to be shown on a future video, the best way to do so is to drop it into the fan art section of Discord. And with that, I'm going to start talking about things that matter to me and not drywall. So, we have this lovely article from WAPO. It says, documents show how conservative doctors influenced abortion and trans rights, but as I don't want to pay money to Washington Post, we're going to go over here. I think I actually do pay $4 a month to Washington Post. I just don't remember, and I don't want to try to sign in. So we're going to go to Imgur, where they've taken the article and made it to where we can actually read it, because, I'm sorry, don't have the headline, Democracy Dies in Darkness, and also hide all of your articles behind a paywall. Just don't. Just don't. Anyway. Cinder, why? Why would you... Fine, Cinder. You did the thing. I guess you get the thing you wanted. That just... Oh, whoa. Jesus fucking Christ. You got the thing you wanted, Axo. Thank you for being on the right side of history instead. Oh, well. Thank you for being a good person for once in your life. You incited the drywall gate. Let's get into this. So, more than 10,000 confidential files from the American College of Pediatricians were exposed after the organization left its contents of its Google Drive publicly accessible. A small group of conservative doctors has sought to shape the nation's most contentious policies on abortion and transgender rights by promoting views rejected by the medical establishment as scientific fact, according to documents reviewed by the Washington Post that describes the group's internal strategies. The record shows that after long struggling to attract members, the American College of Pediatricians gained outsized political influence in recent years, primarily by using conservative media as a megaphone in its quest to position the group as a reputable source of information. The organization has successfully lobbied since 2021 for laws in more than half a dozen states that ban gender-affirming care for transgender youth, with its representatives testifying before state legislatures against the guidelines recommended by mainstream medical groups. According to its records, it gained further national prominence this year as one of the plaintiffs in the federal lawsuit to limit access to mifepristone, a key abortion drug. Despite efforts to invoke the credibility of the medical profession, the American College of Pediatricians is viewed with skepticism by the medical establishment. For years, the group has presented statistics and talking points to state legislatures, public school officials, and the American public as settled science, while internal documents emphasize how religion and morality influence its positions instead. Meeting minutes from 2021 describes how the organization worked with religious groups to affect the idea makers through the high courts, professional literature, and legislatures. So they've literally been utilizing not science, which we kind of already knew, to try to argue that their positions are scientific. Now, there are people, we like to call those people lovingly idiots, who think that religion should be the basis of morality. I just can't. There are too many people of too many different religions that definitely cannot agree with one another on what morality should or should not be. So instead, we need a pluralistic way to figure out morality, which must include the a-religious as well as the religious. So you can't base all of it on religion, because especially if we're talking about the American College of Pediatricians, there's only one religion they're working with anyway, right? It's Christianity. It's conservative evangelical Christianity, generally speaking. But Red Joker says, I just assumed pediatricians and open documents and assumed patient info. Oh! So, well, they don't think those other religions count? I don't care. They're wrong. I don't care. They count. If your religion counts, then somebody else's religion counts. And that's just how that works. We live in a pluralistic society where all of us have to get along. We have to be able to accommodate a Christian, a Muslim, a polytheist, a Jew. We need to be able to account for Jains. We need to be able to account for the people who are religious but do not believe in any deities. We need to be able to account for all of those people. And if you can't, then you shouldn't be writing laws. As if you're going to be writing laws for Georgia and pagans just don't exist here, I guess. The group promotes conversion therapy, which is a discredited practice intent to change the sexual orientation or gender identity of LGBTQ people. I'm going to try to zoom in on this a little bit. In order to change the gender identity of LGBTQ people, that most medical societies warn results in harm. Pediatric experts deemed in a June 22 report crafted by the group that undergirds a new Florida policy banning transgender care for Medicaid recipients as unscientific. Francis Collins, former longtime director of the National Institute of Health, accused the group in 2010 of distorting his research to make a point against homosexuality. Jill Simmons, executive director of the American College of Pediatricians, disputed that criticism that her organization promotes policies that do not follow science, saying that our recommendations are based on the medical research and what is best for children. Well, turns out, based on leaked documents, no, that's not the case. She says that her organization exists to represent all the good pediatricians out there who agree with us, who maybe are afraid to step forward. That sounds kind of like a red flag to me. I'm sorry, but when you do this whole, like, we are here to talk about the silent majority. I've never heard that phrase in a way that isn't just sad. Simmons, a Minneapolis pediatrician, said in an interview with The Post, very smart people in the field of medicine have disagreed with a lot of these so-called consensus that is out there. Yay, very smart people. And they can disagree with it, but can they prove that it's wrong? Can they use the scientific method to prove that it's wrong? Can they take somebody else's studies and through the process of peer review show that they had incorrect methodology? Can they replicate the methods and experiments that have been done on people or on groups of people, and the surveys that have been done on groups of people to try to get different results to show that the results are not consistent? If they're not doing these things, then they can disagree all they want, but they can do it silently. Here's the thing. You may disagree with me and say that I'm being anti-intellectual or anti-freedom of speech or anything like that, but here's the deal. When we're talking about the world of science, then we need to follow the scientific method of doing things. One random person's opinion does not matter. What they do with that opinion matters. If what they do with that opinion is go onto an op-ed piece and screech about how they don't like X thing, then that doesn't matter. That should not be regarded. But if they take that opinion instead and apply it through rigorous testing, through checking to see if their methodology is flawed, checking with their peers, engaging in the peer review process, engaging in the replicatability of experiments, engaging in the actual steps we use, or that we're supposed to use, when we are engaging in the scientific method, testing their hypothesis, seeing if it works, then the opinion of the one person doesn't matter. You can think that a color is blue all you want, but until you are willing to take that color and put it up in front of a group of people and demonstrate that it is blue, nobody fucking cares that you think the color pink is actually blue. Carl. Anyway, going on. Sam Weinberg, a Stanford University psychologist who studies online disinformation, highlights the American College of Pediatricians in his research as an example of a group that uses its name and scientific jargon to convey authority. He said, "It looks like an official medical organization, and you're easily duped into thinking that this is the umbrella organization for pediatricians in the United States," Weinberg said, noting that the group has all of the superficial bells and whistles of credibility. The records of the American College of Pediatricians, a cache of more than 10,000 confidential files, including strategic plans, meeting minutes, member rosters, financial statements, and email exchanges spanning at least 15 years, were exposed after the organization left the contents of its Google Drive publicly accessible. According to two people who individually accessed the materials following the inadvertent breach and shared copies with the Post. The Post examined the document's metadata, including the dates of each file's creation and modification, to determine that they have not been recently manipulated. The document's breach was first reported by The Wired. Simmons characterized the exposure as a malicious cyber attack and hate crime that was intended to intimidate and incapacitate. She would not comment on the actual contents of the documents. So this is like what happens when you, let's say you have a partner, right? And that partner cheats on you. And you know they cheated on you, but the one thing you need is proof. You have none of that, but you do need it for your friends to believe you, your family to believe you, or even to confront them about it because maybe they are a professional gaslighter. And so what do? Well, they leave their phone unlocked one day and you look at their phone. And what do you know? You find meeting dates talking about how they're going to fuck like dogs in a parking lot. And your partner gets really, really pissed at you for looking at their phone and keeps the entire conversation far away from the fact that they've been cheating. The information you found that showed that they were an unfaithful partner is ignored constantly because of the way you found out. Now, should you have been looking in your partner's phone? No, you should not have been. But in the scenario where your partner has been lying to you and you desperately need some way to figure out if that is the case, and they happen to leave their security in such a way that you were able to look at it, then at the very least you both should take blame. You for violating your partner's privacy, and your partner for violating your trust. But what does your partner do? Focuses on the trust. Or focuses on the privacy. Focuses on how you violated their right to privacy and then never actually lets you confront them about the thing they did that you discovered in doing so. It all becomes focused on you. That's what Simmons is doing here. Instead of pointing out the contents that were discovered upon looking at the data breach, she instead goes, "You shouldn't have been looking in the first place. How dare you? Let's not talk about the fact that everything you found there shows that we're a bunch of idiotic and hateful bigots that are just trying to push a rhetorical strategy. No. Don't focus on that. I need to focus on the fact that somebody was a tattletale. And that's a boo-boo. That's a bad." Shadow the Voidburn says, "And that sounds familiar," and then she turns all the mutual friends against you. And then you find out that, the next time you hang out with those friends, they're not talking to you the same way as they used to, and you start to suspect what happened there, but nobody will tell you why, because everybody is on somebody else's side. Familiar things. But, anywho, the organization's quest to ban the use of puberty blockers and hormone therapy for transgender minors has culminated in a string of recent legislative wins following lobbying in at least 8 states, internal documents show. Arkansas first enacted a law in 2021 after Michelle Cretella, the executive director of the American College of Pediatricians, described such care as experimental and dangerous to legislatures. A federal appeals court temporarily blocked it. So here's the thing. State legislatures are idiots. I'm just going to throw it out there right now. You do not become a lawmaker because of your skill. You become a lawmaker because of your rhetoric, because of how many people you can convince with a marketing team that you deserve the votes. They also can be bought very easily. These people are the people who write your laws. So what happens when a group of people, a think tank of people, are operating 24/7 trying to make sure that the state legislature is going to write laws in their favor? Well, if you're not doing the same thing, they're just going to fucking win. Quite frankly, the idea that you can play nice in politics is a funny haha. It's a funny joke. I wish it wasn't, but the reality is we are seeing trans rights get stripped in the United States as places are losing Medicaid access to hormone therapy, losing access to puberty blockers, losing access to hormone therapy for minors, losing access to bathrooms for anybody who is trans in some states. As rights are being stripped away, they're being stripped away because think tank organizations are doing their best to try to get those rights stripped away, and they are putting in the legwork to make it happen. And we are not putting in the same amount of legwork. The places like the Human Rights Campaign are trying. But anyway, versions of that law have since passed in at least 20 other state legislatures, including, I'm not going to list the entire bit there, you can read. Some face court challenges, and one was vetoed by a governor. Similar bills are making their way through legislatures in Northern Carolina and Ohio. At the federal level, Senator Roger Marshall, Republican in Kansas, and OBGYN, recently reintroduced legislation endorsed by, of course, the American College of Pediatricians that would prevent doctors from performing gender transition procedures on minors and bar federal funds from being used for such procedures. Marshall's spokesperson says that he's not a part of the group. Yeah. The American College of Pediatricians was formed in 2022 after dozens of conservative doctors split from the nation's leading interest group of pediatricians, the 67,000-member American Academy of Pediatrics, over the Academy's support of same-sex parenting. Wow, it's almost like when you look at how places like this are founded, you find out there's blood in the water. The Academy had determined from its review of scientific literature that children with same-sex parents fare as well as those with heterosexual parents in emotional and cognitive, social, and sexual functioning. Joseph Zonga, a founder of the American College of Pediatricians who had led the American Academy of Pediatrics in the late 90s, described the splinter organization as a Judeo-Christian traditional values organization. That doesn't sound like science to me. That sounds like ideology. Holy shit. Get bent. In a 2003 interview with National Association for Research Therapy and Homosexuality, which promoted conversion therapy, his organization's core beliefs are stated that life begins at conception and that the traditional family unit, headed by an opposite-sex couple, poses far fewer risk factors in the adopting and raising of children. And of course, he declined an interview. Internal records from 2010 show how the group tied homosexuality to health risks, even death, in a letter campaign. Here's where I get to call out a fucking idiot. Mike Winger, if you happen to ever watch my content, or if anybody happens to want to send this clip to him, I called him a homophobe on Twitter years ago, and it was because of the video that he made called a secular argument against homosexuality. A lot of the data that he found there was based off of this ideological Christian data. Secular argument, my ass. Get bent. According to more recent research, suicide risks with therapy directing at changing sexual orientation, blah, 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 blah. The 2010 letter from the American College of Pediatricians, up to 14,800 public school superintendents urged school officials not to affirm any student expressing homosexuality. It directed them to a website operated by the group that pushed sexual orientation therapy for those with unwanted homosexual attractions. Collins, the former NIH director who led the Internal Home Genome Project, said in a written statement at the time that the American College of Pediatricians pulled language out of context from his 2006 book to support an ideology that can cause unnecessary anguish and encourage prejudice. The group's characterization of homosexuality in its letter to superintendents is misleading and incorrect, and it is particularly troubling that they are distributing it in a way that will confuse school children and their parents. There's a lot more here to get through. We're going to see how much of it we can get through. But, so LOL Calvary Chapel anyway. See here. Records show that the College of Pediatricians launched a campaign against St. Louis-based Catholic Health System's transgender care policy in 2017 after SSM Health outlined guidance that included hormone therapy and potential referrals for gender assignment surgery. Cretella, then president for the American College of Pediatricians, urged the Archbishop of St. Louis at the time, Robert Carlson, to issue a statement that will denounce their embrace of transgender ideology over science and sound medical ethics and demand that they rescind the policy. Carlson, in his March 31st, 2017 response, informed Cretella that he had contacted other bishops who had SSM hospitals in their diocese or archdiocese. Carlson also included a copy of letter to SSM Health requesting the system cease the implementation of the transgender treatment policy within the next 30 days and revise it in accordance to Catholic moral theology. Ah, yes. Unbiased medical supervision at its finest from the Catholic Archdiocese. Peas stored in the spine. SSM Health, which operates hospitals in Missouri, Illinois, Oklahoma, and other states, told the Post it changed its transgender policy in 2018 to comply with Catholic directives. Kellen Baker, executive director of the Whitman Walker Institute, a DC-based research policy and advocacy center focused on LGBTQ health, accused the College of Pediatricians of intentionally and aggressively laundering pseudoscience through this veneer of respectability. At first blush, without knowing what's actually behind it, you would think it's a pediatric medical professional organization, but it's not. It's a tiny group of fringe conservatives who don't like the fact that the field was leaving them behind. The group serves as a vital counterweight to the ideological capture facing medical societies, said Roger Severino, vice president of domestic policy at the Heritage Foundation, a prominent conservative think tank that he said relies on the American College of Pediatricians for scientific expertise. They have had the courage to take stands in court and to speak to medical professionals in relating their experience when it comes to questions about the human dignity of unborn life, blah, blah, blah. Look, having the courage to stand in court doesn't mean anything when your religion literally tells you that you're going to get a better crown in heaven for being persecuted a certain way. This also shows the cyclical nature of so much of this shit. It's not that we have multiple different organizations that are problematic. It's that we have an organization distributing information to the other organizations, and they are reliant on each other in an internal symbiotic relationship. To the extent that people would be confused about who was presenting evidence-based science, that is a concern to us, Delmont said. Every policy statement of the American Academy of Pediatrics represents a rigorous review of the available scientific evidence and an extensive writing process that includes extensive peer review and a unanimous vote by the board. The Academy, which said more than 95% of its members are physicians, has pointed to strong consensus amongst the most prominent medical organizations worldwide that evidence-based gender-affirming care for transgender children is medically necessary and appropriate. Records from early 2022 show membership of the American College of Pediatricians at about 700 people, just over 60% of whom self-identified as possessing medical degrees, including some holding prominent positions as hospital chiefs and a state health commissioner. The group, citing privacy, would not comment on the size and makeup of its membership. Also, Neurocystic, thank you for redeeming your points for an Ara, you fucking degen. Ora, thank you for redeeming your points for an Owl. Documents show that the American College of Pediatricians are worrying about its finances and trying to expand its reach in recent years. The group, supported by its membership fees and donors, reported $123,000 in available funds as of January 2022, according to its financial spreadsheets. For an organization with over 700,000 people, that is a minuscule amount of money. The organization sent 15,000 mailers to conservative physicians between 2018 and 2019, according to the Post receipts and spreadsheets of names and addresses. One 2018 planning document instructed the group to target Christian MDs in red letters, as well as recruit pediatricians in red states. It also suggested contacting academics who have doctorates in sociology, epidemiology, and bioethics. Amongst the most prominent names listed on the internal membership records, John Hurlstott, the Texas commissioner from 2016 until 2022. Hurlstott, in 2 phone conversations, declined to be interviewed, of course. Other members run departments at major hospitals in Ohio, Tennessee, and Texas, as well as school health services in California, according to a post-analysis of the group's membership list. While agendas show the group open and closes its meetings with prayer, they say we're not a religious organization. Many of our members, however, are people of faith. If you open up your meetings with prayer, you're probably a religious organization. Just saying. The group found an eager audience through conservative media, including Tucker Carlson and Laura Ingraham of Fox News. Since 2016, the American College of Pediatricians have been mentioned in more than 200 articles published by conservative news sites like Breitbart, Daily Wire, Epoch Times, Washington Examiner, and Blaze Media, and the Gateway Pundit. According to a post-analysis, its profile has continued to rise. The volume of articles mentioning the group during the first 4 months of 2023 was 5 times that of the same period in 2020. They are part of a coordinated, politically motivated anti-science ecosystem, says Peter Hotez, who was a dean of Baylor College of Medicine's National School of Tropical Medicine and an expert in misinformation. Cretella, whose Rhode Island medical license expired in 2020, according to state medicinal boards, equated transgender care to child abuse during an appearance on Carlson's show in July of 2017. Neither Cretella nor the American College of Pediatricians responded to any questions about the circumstances leading to the expiration of her medical license. A senior booker on Carlson's show showed that Cretella and other doctors affiliated with the group in August of 2017 responded to a Denver Post story about a transgender professional cyclist, saying, "How would a male who is now female not be at an advantage?" Well, I can tell you why. If you're on hormone therapy and you are on testosterone blockers, the actual things that make you stronger and better in sports tend to get less. The only thing that seems to be unaffected by that count is, like, twitch muscle fibers, and even then, those can be trained? So yeah. How much? We only got 2 more pages to go. She only got 2 more pages to go. Let's see here. Despite its prominence in conservative circles, the group was concerned it had an image problem. The Southern Poverty Law Center has designated them as a hate group in 2012 for its anti-LGBTQ positions, a label that Amazon said prevented the American College of Pediatricians from receiving any donations through the company's now defunct charity program. The group complained to Amazon, calling its policy unfair, according to emails between 2014 and 2017. But the company denied the group's appeals, saying that the decision is final. Slides for a 2018 American College of Pediatricians board meeting focused on recruiting featured an image of the Ku Klux Klan members titled Perception, as well as an image of Justice League superheroes titled What Our Friends Think of Us, illustrating how drastically opinion about the group varied, with some viewing them as villains and others as heroes. Since 2006, the group has partnered with other conservative organizations to file amicus briefs across at least 30 high-profile cases pertaining to same-sex marriage, gay parental rights. You get the idea. The recent release of internal documents has only amplified its cause, said Simmons. The group's executive director is now fundraising for cyber attack recovery efforts. Oh, boo-hoo. People figured out you were bigots, and now you're sad. The Heritage Foundation sent out a fundraising appeal on behalf of the American College of Pediatricians following the exposure of its internal documents, saying it's more important now than ever for us to stand together and support our pro-life, pro-American ally. And there you have it, folks. So we can basically say very, very handedly that the American College of Pediatricians is in fact a hate group with a religiously motivated ideology that is doing everything in its power to try to strip rights from people who are LGBTQ, and they state as much in their own documents. And their founding shows that they are ideologically motivated as opposed to motivated by actual science, and they are super concerned with their image problem. They even recognize that they can be seen as fucking Klan members. Go ahead, call the police. You can't unfuck your documents. But that's all that. That is, so we don't get this type of stuff all the time. We don't always get internal documents showing what is actually happening on the inside with the types of people that we deal with on the channel. We don't always get that. This is a boon when it happens. Because when this happens, we get to figure out, oh, these are the type of things they're doing. These are the type of things that they are engaging with. These are the type of things they are trying to do more and more often. And why? Typically, we have to guess at that. Right now, we don't. And that's both very sad and also very helpful. But this is where I gotta throw it back to you guys. What do you think? Let me know in the comment section below. Honestly, I'm depressed reading all this information. It's super helpful, but it's also sad that it's, you know, real. Hit the like button if you haven't already. Subscribe if you haven't already. And as always, everybody, insert end video tagline here.